Hi everyone, thanks for watching. So let's get into it. Let's go!
Today we thought we'd have a quick look at some of the areas we always get questions about on the 6R4.
What we thought we'd do today was just have a quick close-up look round the car and try and show you what it's like to be inside one, and also under the bonnet. That's something that we get asked all the time. What's actually under there? So when it comes to getting inside the car, you'll see all the doors are cut away. There's no handle there, just the cable. So you just pull that cable down to release the door and jump out. Getting in is a little bit of a work of art. You can't step on the white area that is on the sill there. That's just a carbon box. You've got to get over the roll cage that's covering the door there, into the footwell, but underneath the wheel, and then get into the seat, and then try and drag your other foot in to follow. So you have to kind of fold yourself in half and get yourself in there. I'm not sure. There's not very much on the driver's side. Orange shift light on the dash there. The two orange switches on the right are for the lamp pod, if we're running a night stage and got the lamp pod bonnet on. Other than that, you've got the rev counter in the centre, almost hidden by the steering wheel there, and down the bottom there you can see the in-car camera and the belt cutter just behind the gear lever, and a fire stick just to be sure in case we need to try and put something out in the car. We wanted to have that as well as an extinguisher in there. So other than that, most of the dials are on the navigator side. Oil pressure, oil temperature, all those kind of things, and the fuel gauges over there for the navigator to sort out. Speedometer is the white dial in the centre there. Again, that's on the navigator side. The rev counter, which is just hidden by the steering wheel, that does point towards the driver, along with that bright orange oil pressure light, and the fuel pumps switches, and that's pretty much it on my side. Navigator's view. Behind the seats you'll see this small flat area there, this bulkhead. Underneath that are the tanks, but according to the original designs this was going to be a bench seat because the 6R4 was meant to be a 2+2. Whenever we can, we use in-car footage in our videos. The little black box down there is the control unit, and just between the seats up here, mounted to the roll cage, is the lipstick camera, as they call it, and they're linked together, linked to the intercom, which is down there, just the black box there, which is behind the camera unit. And so it's nice to be able to get some footage and get what people think of it while we're taking them for a ride. One other thing to point out on this car that's different to the standard ones is this sequential gearbox, built by Elite in Stoke. It was a Rallycross test box. I think they made 2 or 3 of them, but that was all they did in the end. So to change gear, just pull backwards, first through to 5th, and then push forwards to go down, back down from 5th, obviously down to 1st. When you want to go into neutral, you pull that brake lever there back towards the top of the, and that shifts the gate in the same way on a road car that you might press the gear lever down, or there's a little sleeve that you slide up. The gear stick actually did have a slider on it, but it was pretty awkward to use, so we changed that to the brake lever, which is much easier to use. So you can find neutral and then find reverse much easier should you need to, if you end up facing backwards somewhere in the middle of a stage. Okay, we'll move around the front of the car and we'll have a little look under the bonnet. Ignore that stack of wheels on the right hand side there. That's for another little project, an MG ZR that we've just got to play with. So when it comes to what's actually under the bonnet of a 6R4, there's a diff, 2 drive shafts, suspension turrets, battery, washer bottle, and not a great deal else really. In the front from a slightly different angle, down the bottom there, that's the carbon front guard. Obviously you've got the fans, but yeah, there really isn't a huge amount under there. So the red that you can see there is the bottom of the mid-screen, which separates the cabin and the engine. And these side vents here that you can see, they just kind of scoop in the air, and it follows the mid-screen round, and then make sure the air goes into the engine bay and out through the vents at the bottom of the tailgate. And also there's some vents at the top of the perspex. There's a row of holes drilled in the top of there, just to make sure you get some airflow in and keep that engine as cool as you can. We also get asked quite a bit about the mirrors. If I get the angle of this just right, you can see that there's a vent, effectively air scooped in by the mirror through a vent, through a hole in the perspex there, which makes quite a nice difference once you move in. Yeah, you know, they aren't an enormous mirror, I get that. And yeah, you can see out, you know, from them. They're not huge, but you can see some stuff. But a lot of people comment on the videos saying, oh, those mirrors must be completely useless because they're looking at the reflection from the in-car camera, but they're forgetting the fact that the camera's got a fisheye lens, so it's not quite an accurate representation of what you can actually see. And now around to the business end. There aren't many 6R4s that run an Autoplast Louvre, but then, as this was their car, it's understandable why this one does. Obviously the back end is the noisy end on a 6R4. The original engine was a 3 litre V6 called a V64V. Now this one's got a 3 litre Jaguar V6, but as close as we can get it in power and slightly more torque, so we're trying to give it that authentic ride experience, although the original engines are phenomenally expensive now and nigh on impossible to find, so this option is a much more usable option and much more sensible to run, although at 5 to the gallon it's similar fuel consumption to the original ones. And I also thought we'd have a quick look at the different wheel options. So these are the original gravel Dymags with TRX tyres on. These ones are a little bit dirty, thanks to the Stig giving it some stick through Grisdale Forest. Over here we have the Tarmac Dymags, substantially wider with 12-inch rears, 9-inch fronts, whereas the gravel wheels are 7-inch fronts, 8-inch rears. And then by comparison, and you can see the huge difference in total width, that's a set of the current kind of spec wheel that we use. That's the Compomotive 5 spokes. Those are obviously MSA legal at the moment, but you can see the huge amount of difference in tyre width that you have. So yeah, less grip, less traction and what have you.
Thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll bring you some event videos soon.
Make sure you give us a like, press subscribe, and then you'll see all the other videos we've got on the channel, and there's plenty more to come. Questions about the car, anything you want, just put them in the comments below.